Foremost, congrats on everything.
Thanks, you too.
But we're gonna do this interview a little bit different. So I know that you're a Taylor Swift fan.
What happens when absolute power finally faces a presence it can no longer ignore? For years, Aja Wilson dominated women's basketball, MVP awards, championships.
Oh yeah, I do like
Okay.
Taylor Swift. Okay, I'm not like diehard, but I do like. I'm a new Taylor Swift fan.
Okay.
And complete control of the game, no questions asked. No challenges, allowed pure authority. But what do you do when a single phone call tells you the future is moving forward? Without you,
Hey, but that still counts.
Yeah.
So we're gonna rock out. So first, I'm gonna give you this bracelet.
Oh, stop!
22.
That's so cute.
behind closed doors, a choice was made, a legacy quietly questioned. And the spotlight she believed was hers began to shift, not to a team, not to a system, but to one player she spent years.
Reasons,
Thanks.
of course. So we're gonna keep going
Okay.
down the list. So to begin, I mean, you have became
Trying to downplay. Caitlin Clark, was it arrogance that kept her from seeing it, or fear of knowing exactly what was coming? This isn't a story about stats or highlights. It's about ego, rivalry, and how a carefully nurtured vendetta can become the very force
a national name. Like everyone knows Caitlin Clark. They know you for everything. So how do you deal with the fact that honestly everything has changed?
that ends a dynasty. Because in the end, the most dangerous opponent isn't the one you challenge in public. It's the one who replaces you while you're still staring at your own reflection. The setup. 2 years of quiet tension.
I think the biggest thing is just embracing it.
So let's keep going.
Oh, okay. Everything.
Everything has changed. It's all around.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just embracing it and enjoying it. Like, you know, it's
And to understand how we reached this stunning moment, we have to go back to 2022, when Aja Wilson sat comfortably at the absolute summit of women's basketball. Picture this. MVP trophies displayed proudly at home, a legacy untouched, a throne that looked untouchable. She had championship rings that gleamed up
it's fun. If you have to be the face of women's college basketball, that's something you embrace and you enjoy and you know it's really good for our sport.
under every camera flash. She had lucrative endorsement deals, with major brands competing for her attention. She had magazine covers, constant media features, and analysts on television calling her the greatest player of her generation, without hesitation.
But yeah, I think the biggest thing is like, this is what I love to do. It's not who I am, and that's what's been so fun for myself and allowed me to play so well is
When Aja Wilson looked in the mirror each morning, she saw someone who had clawed her way to the top through pure talent and relentless determination. Someone who had earned the undisputed right to be the center of attention in her sport. She had no intention of sharing that spotlight with anyone. Certainly not with a college player from Iowa who had yet to prove anything at the
I just go out there and be myself and have fun.
professional level. Then Caitlin Clark happened, and everything Wilson believed about her place in the basketball universe began to shift beneath her feet. Clark didn't enter the national conversation the way most prospects do. She didn't quietly climb the ranks or wait her turn for recognition. She exploded into the public consciousness like a meteor tearing through the
That's, I feel like, the reason I went to Iowa too is the style of offense we play. It allows me to thrive.
atmosphere, leaving shattered records and stunned defenders in her wake. Suddenly, every arena she stepped into was selling out weeks in advance. Every game she played was shattering television ratings the WNBA had been chasing for decades. And every highlight reel across
But yeah, I think basketball's something I've loved since I was a little girl, and
every major sports network was dominated by her impossible 30-foot three-pointers, courtesy of Caitlin Clark. And she arrived with supreme confidence and a fearless competitive fire that reminded older fans of legends they thought they'd never see again. The media couldn't get enough of her story. Casual fans, people who had never watched women's basketball before, were now setting their DVR specifically
every time I get to go out there and play in front of tens of thousands of fans, that's
for her games. And Aja Wilson, the woman who believed she was the rightful queen of this kingdom, struggled to watch someone else receive the adoration she felt belonged exclusively to her. Instead of celebrating what Caitlin Clark was doing for the sport, instead of recognizing that a rising tide lifts all boats, that Clark's popularity was bringing millions of new eyes to women's basketball, Wilson made a decision that would eventually come back to haunt her in ways she never imagined. She decided Clark was not a colleague, not a fellow
it's incredible for me and it always takes me back and really always will.
ambassador for the game. She decided Clark was her enemy. At first, the campaign was subtle. So subtle that most people dismissed it as coincidence or misinterpretation. A liked post questioning Clark's legitimacy as a future professional. A cryptic tweet, carefully worded to undermine her achievements, without ever saying her name, Wilson began sharing content highlighting veteran accomplishments, timed precisely to overshadow Clark's record-breaking moments. Whenever Clark did something spectacular, Wilson's social media would suddenly feature throwbacks to her own achievements, or pointed commentary about what it really takes to succeed at the highest level. And when Clark won Time magazine's prestigious Athlete of the Year award, claimed an honor that should have been celebrated as a victory for women's sports everywhere. But Wilson's online presence didn't celebrate the win for the game she claimed to.
Yeah, I mean, that is special, and I'm glad you said that it's not who you are, because I think there's like
love. Instead, it radiated unmistakable skepticism and barely concealed resentment. The message was clear to anyone paying attention. Wilson didn't see Caitlin Clark as a rising star who could elevate the league. She saw her as an existential threat to everything she had built through years of hard work and sacrifice. Here's the thing about jealousy, something Wilson apparently never learned. It never stays hidden. It leaked through interviews where she used loaded phrases like real impact and sustained excellence, in ways clearly designed to diminish Clark's contributions. It showed in passive-aggressive comments that grew sharper as Clark's popularity soared beyond anything Wilson had ever achieved. It revealed itself whenever reporters asked about Clark, and Wilson would subtly, or not so subtly, change the subject. Wilson made the fatal mistake of turning every Clark achievement into a personal attack on her own legacy.
It's hard for athletes to really decipher between the two, so that's nice.
Absolutely.
But I mean, your game is well-rounded. Like,
she made Clark's success about herself, not the unprecedented growth of the sport they both claimed to love. She convinced herself she was defending the honor of veterans everywhere, when in reality, she was just protecting her ego from the uncomfortable truth. Someone younger, hungrier, and more marketable had arrived. What Wilson didn't realize, what she couldn't possibly have known, was that Team USA officials were watching every single interaction with cold, professional eyes, taking detailed notes. Here's the part the mainstream media rarely talks.
everyone knows you for your deep threes, logo threes. Do you prefer taking a team down with long range?
About. Everyone discusses Wilson's dominance, her awards, her statistics, her control of the game. Clear once you understand how international basketball really works. Insiders call it the special whistle. Look at Wilson's free throw attempts in the WNBA. She averages nearly 12 per game. On paper, it looks unstoppable. A player so dominant no one can stop her without fouling. But break down the film, and a different story emerges. A player who has mastered the art of selling contact to referees. Every drive ends with exaggerated motion. Every defensive contest, clean or not, turns into a theatrical appeal for a foul. Wilson's
Bombs or death by 1,000 cuts?
Okay, let's see what this one is.
Death by
Death by 1,000 cuts? I'm gonna wear these to the rest of every interview for the whole day. Honestly,
scoring in the WNBA isn't purely skill-based. It's heavily supported by favorable officiating that has protected offensive stars like her for years. And in the WNBA, it works beautifully. Rules favor offensive players. Referees know the stars. The system rewards this style of play, but international basketball, it's a whole different planet. FIBA referees don't care about MVP trophies, endorsement deals, or Instagram followers. They officiate a game where physical play isn't just allowed, it's expected. The contact that sends Wilson to the free throw line a dozen times in a typical WNBA game, in international play, it's just a normal defensive play. Team USA scouts watched Wilson in exhibition games abroad, and what they saw terrified them.
I think the thing about myself is like I take a lot of pride in being able to do a lot of different things for my team, and it's something we need, whether it's rebounding, whether it's assisting, whether it's scoring.
Her scoring efficiency didn't just drop. It plummeted when referees stopped rewarding foul baiting and allowed real physical defense. Wilson looked like a completely different player. Her entire offensive rhythm depends on constant interruptions and favorable whistles, privileges that simply don't exist on the global stage. She is a player built for one very specific environment. And that environment doesn't exist in the Olympics or the World Cup. Now compare that to Caitlin Clark when Clark scores. It's in ways no referee on earth can take away from her, pulling up from 30 feet, draining impossible shots, leaving defenders staring helplessly at the scoreboard. Every point she scores is earned. Every record she
But if I had to pick one thing about my game, probably the logo threes and long threes.
breaks is undeniable. No whistles, no theatrics, just pure, unassailable talent. Defenders can make contact with Caitlin Clark, and she doesn't flail, fall, or search for a whistle. She finishes through it. Her step-back threes and deep-range shots are the definition of self-reliant offense. She beats defenders with shot selection, basketball IQ, and footwork, not by initiating marginal contact and hoping for a foul. Her game translates to any court in the world because it's built on fundamentals, not system exploitation. The difference becomes clear when you watch them side by side. Wilson initiates contact, freezes, waits for the whistle, and free throws. Clark anticipates contact, adjusts midair, and scores anyway.
Just fun. The crowd goes crazy, and a lot of times it happens in transition, which is my favorite part of offense, is transition offense.
Wilson's method is perfect for the controlled environment of the WNBA. Clark's method is perfect everywhere, relying on nothing but pure basketball ability. Then came the decision that changed everything. Team USA released their preliminary selection pool for the 2026 World Cup. In the 2028 Olympics, Wilson saw the list, and her name was not on it according to sources close to USA basketball. Her reaction was explosive. The woman who had spent 2 years convinced she was untouchable suddenly discovered she had been replaced by the very player she spent years trying to undermine. Caitlin Clark. The meltdown reportedly lasted days. Wilson immediately began making frantic, desperate calls to anyone in USA basketball who might offer an explanation. Her representatives scrambled to schedule emergency meetings.
I feel like that's something our team takes a lot of pride in, and we really try to thrive in, is like, that's the hardest time for the defense to get set, so we really want to emphasize scoring and transition offense. But
meetings with coaching staff, who had already moved on to evaluating the players who actually made the cut. Meanwhile, Clark received congratulations from teammates, coaches, and fans, celebrating her chance to represent her country. The contrast says everything about who these two players truly are. Clark posted a simple thank you message. No cheap shots, no demands for attention, just genuine gratitude and excitement to learn from the veterans on the team. Wilson's camp, by contrast, began floating stories about supposed scheduling conflicts that had kept her from participating. Nobody believed it. Everyone saw it for what it really was. A desperate attempt to save face.
Yeah, I like to keep the crowd on the balls of their feet. You never know when I might shoot it, so.
It's really insane, but I mean, it keeps everyone like so in tune to the game because they're like, oh no, is it coming? Like, it's insane.
After being publicly and definitively cut from the program she thought she owned. Here's the part that really matters. Team USA coaches had been observing Wilson's behavior for 2 full years before making this decision. Every passive-aggressive comment noted. Every cryptic social media post filed, every interview taking shots at Clark, added to a growing record of evidence that Wilson was not a player who would put team success above her own ego. Coaches were building a team to represent the United States on the world stage. They needed players who would lift each other up, not tear each other down. Why character matters more than stats. International competition operates on a completely different wavelength than domestic leagues. It's not just about raw talent, impressive statistics, or how many times your name appears in the record books.
But I mean, you will, like, no matter who you play, like when you play, you are always the top target. And I mean, like, it does not matter. So how do you face that and remain fearless?
It's about handling crushing pressure when your entire nation is watching and expecting gold. It's about maintaining absolute composure when hostile crowds scream in languages you don't understand and referees make calls that seem designed against you. It's about representing your country with dignity and grace while cameras from around the world capture every expression, every reaction, every moment of triumph or frustration. The Olympic stage magnifies everything. It exposes weaknesses that domestic competition can hide. And most importantly, it reveals the true character of every athlete who steps onto that court, wearing their nation's colors. Think carefully. A player who cannot handle fan criticism on social media, who melts down when
fearless! I feel like being fearless is one of the most important things as a female, but also as a competitor. I think it's something that
strangers question her accomplishments, cannot possibly handle the immense psychological weight of carrying American basketball on the global stage. A player who responds to a competitor's success with visible jealousy and barely concealed resentment, instead of genuine celebration and professional unity, is not someone you want in your locker room when the stakes have never been higher. Team USA coaches know this intimately. They've seen What happens when toxic attitudes enter high-pressure international environments? They've watched championship hopes crumble. Not because of a lack of talent, but because of ego and a deficit of emotional intelligence. One player with the wrong
comes from confidence. You have to have a lot of confidence to be fearless, and I think that's something Coach Bluter instills in us every single day is not only do you need to be a confident basketball player, but you need to be a confident woman in life.
Wrong attitude can poison an entire team faster than any opponent could ever dream of doing. Wilson's reaction to being cut from the roster became the ultimate vindication. It proved the coaches had made not just the right decision, but the only decision they could have made. Her immediate response was not graceful acceptance or quiet determination to prove them wrong. Instead, it was an emotional meltdown reportedly lasting days. Her inability to accept the natural consequences of her own behavior, her frantic pivot to excuses, her desperate calls for explanations from anyone who would listen, all demonstrated the kind of emotional fragility that would be catastrophic in Olympic competition. Imagine that same reaction after a tough loss in a gold medal game. Imagine those frantic phone calls.
You need to be confident in what you're doing in school, what you're doing in the basketball court, whatever it is for the rest of your life. So I think that just obviously stems from my confidence.
Barely contained fury being directed at teammates, officials, or media members on the world stage. The coaches imagined exactly that scenario and wisely decided they wanted no part of it. Now compare that volatile reaction to Caitlin Clark. Clark has spent 2 full years absorbing constant attacks from Wilson and her allies, without ever once responding in kind. She has faced more public scrutiny, more unwarranted criticism, and more manufactured controversy than almost any player in women's basketball history. And she has handled every single challenge with quiet grace. The kind of composure that makes major sponsors eager to sign her and national team selectors confident in her ability to represent the country. While Wilson was busy liking shady posts and leaving passive-aggressive comments, Clark put her head down.
Whenever I step on the court, I'm not really fearful of anything that's going to happen, but also it's because I have really great teammates, and I know this is a team sport. If I'm not shooting the ball really well, I have 4 other people that are on the court.
And let her game speak for itself. While Wilson turned every interview into an opportunity to subtly diminish a younger player's accomplishments, Clark spoke about how honored she was to learn from veterans and contribute to the team's success in any way possible. The contrast could not be more stark or more revealing. The developing chemistry between Clark and players like Aaliyah Boston represents something beautiful, something Wilson's towering ego could never touch.